Hello there. Go 3.
Oh,
I saw your face. I was like, I missed something important. Oh, and I did, but I caught one of them. So that was impressive. Fun fact,
thank you.
this is the exact same tempo as our intro song. I was like playing it over. I was like, oh, it kind of works. That's cool.
It's awesome.
Congratulations on, was that 2 for 3?
That was 2 for 4.
2 for 4? Beer pong champion.
I mean, 50%. That's pretty good.
Get back to college. Welcome to 100X Engineering, the show where we flex our beer pong and groovebox skills on you within the first 10 seconds of you joining. Also, the show where you learn the skills to become not a 1X, 10X, nay, an 11X engineer, but 100X. That is a lot of X's. Engineer. Got an exciting guest today. We'll talk more about them in a minute. Drew, you went to Paris though, since we did this last. Is that true?
I did go to Paris. I took a week off and went to
I can tell by your black turtleneck.
Just coincidentally, fashionable today. Yeah, it was great. I took a nice vacation with the girlfriend and we explored the French countryside. And coincidentally, France was having a lot of political difficulties, lots of strikes and drama. So the city of Paris was covered in trash due to the strikes. So I thought it was normal when we got there. There's just piles of trash everywhere. I was like, it's a big city. Sometimes you get backed up. No, apparently they were unhappy about things. So wasn't the best time to visit, but we had a great trip overall.
That's actually crazy. Did it affect transit at all?
Yeah, some of the trains we were supposed to get on were canceled because of the strikes. So it was a little rough, but we ended up getting where we needed to go. Yeah.
I feel bad for the French people. And the trains were having trouble because of strikes.
Oh, so maybe it's just a French thing? They just do that?
I don't know. I don't know what jokes I can legally make on a recorded stream, so I have no idea.
Our French viewers might get upset. So
they might.
And we had a great trip. I'll say that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I thought you seemed more cultured, and it definitely that answer.
I don't know if I should be insulted by that statement or not, but I'll take it as a compliment.
You said a high dog previously.
Okay, good save.
I have more things to ask you about France on here. Do you speak French now? I can imagine you speaking French very well.
Bonjour.
Please.
Merci beaucoup.
That actually lines up really well. Trying to think if I had anything. Man, I got strep throat. I won't go into all my health ailments. I got really sick. I hurt my foot. I got out of commission at the gym because somebody dropped something on my leg. It's been a month. We missed last time. We missed last 100X Engineering because we were doing this performance review season, and I just told Tyler, I was like, I need to focus on our employees rather than our 2.4 million viewers. But we are back here for you. Let's see. Are we starting with the bonus segment? I've got that up pretty high in our notes. Do we want to start with a fun fact in the tech industry?
We can. I think we can do it whenever. Let me unhide this. I have it in our notes hidden so that
I saw it. It caught my attention almost immediately.
So, oh no, I can't unhide it. Our fun fact of the day is that, Kurt, how many gamers do you think there are across the world? Just take a wild guess. Total gamers, active gamers.
1.2 billion.
How many?
I said 1.2 million.
Well, I think your first guess was closer. Apparently, based on recent estimates, there are close to 3 billion active gamers, people who self-identify as active gamers across the world. Yes, and of those 3 billion, 2.5 billion approximately play on mobile.
Wow.
And I found that fascinating. That's 30% of the world, if not more.
Yeah, that's wild. It's become the biggest industry for media and entertainment, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you got Microsoft with their $70 billion Blizzard deal going through now.
It's crazy. Apparently, since the pandemic especially, has grown 35% in the past 5 years. So
that's crazy.
That's your fun fact for the day.
Here's a fun fact for you. I'm really bad at number guessing games. Insanely bad. 1.2 billion was actually closer than I thought I would be.
It was pretty close. Yeah, that wasn't bad.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. But we played one when we had a remote game time during COVID where it was how many people do you think what percentage of people in the world do you think get a cup of coffee in the morning before work? I don't know, 8%. It was like 0.56 or something like that. Everyone's like, Carter, that's such a dumb guess. So, anyway, that's a really good fun fact. Join us every week for more fun facts in the gaming and tech industry. Drew, do you want to intro our guest?
Sure thing. We have a person from the Big Apple joining us today, a senior engineer and now team lead on the Saturn team. This man is extremely interesting. Expect a lot from him. And that's about all I got. Let's welcome Adam.
Round of applause for Adam.
Hello. What is up, gamers? All 2 billion gamers. I was listening to that fact.
That is pretty wild. I realized we probably should have had you on when we went over that because I wanted to hear what your guess would have been. What would your guess have been now? Please wow us.
I thought it was me like a billion.
Okay, so we're
close.
Yeah, because like all the sort of Western countries and some Eastern countries, like there's at least 1 billion people in there, right?
Oh, yeah.
That I assume that are able to play a game or not. I don't know, but yeah, a couple billion. That's a lot. I'm one of those billion. I hope a lot of our viewers are as well, and a lot of my fellow New Yorkers, probably gamers as well. Yeah, just a little bit about myself. I guess to introduce myself on the show, like Drew said, I work on Team Prometheus here, Team Saturn. Work alongside Drew here, senior software engineer. Just became team lead. Been with Juke J1 for about a little over a year now. It's been an awesome ride. Yesterday was my birthday, so this is quite the great birthday present, guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And as a New Yorker, I have to come here since I'm in a public setting. I have to come and tell you all that if you ever come to New York, please don't ask a New Yorker about Times Square or how to get there, or can you please take me there? Because as many New Yorkers, I do not like Times Square. I avoid it like the plague. And everyone who comes to visit me asks, can you take me to Times Square? And I will begrudgingly say, here's a map, go get it. PSA, just avoid Times
Even
Square.
If I ask you to go with me on the subway and ride with me there, you're not going to do that?
I will push you off the train, off your station, and I will leave you to it, and I'll go to the next one, and I'll see you later. Yeah. I
feel like this is a very New Yorker thing to say, and I love it. I'm eating it up.
Yeah.
Do you have a bike?
Live there.
What? Sorry?
Do you have a bike in New York, or do you walk?
I do not. I have a car now. I did the thing. I shot myself in the foot by getting a car. No, I'm kidding. I live out in Brooklyn, so South Brooklyn. It's a little farther from like the Times Square, the area I do not like to go to, but like in general, it's a little farther out. It's easier to get a car, drive around, go to the beach, go see some family outside, like in New Jersey or in farther parts away from me. But I do frequent the subway lots.
Nice.
I've been here for over 5 years now. I was just looking at the calendar to see how long I've been here. I am afraid of riding a bike here. I would not recommend it if you do not have to. Thank you. That's my
I didn't know that. I was going to ask if I could ride in your basket.
If I
if I
did
picking what kind of bike you have for you. It has a basket or pegs, which are both super cool.
If I had one, I would definitely invite you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, we got a happy birthday from our viewers there. Very cool.
Nice.
I think it's time to introduce our game, and then we'll tear into the topic for today. Let me bring this up. Today's game is brought to you by Blockst.io, or as I like to endearingly call it, Budget Minecraft. Go to Blockst.io. Tyler, if we could get a link dropped to our viewers in the chat, that would be helpful. We're joining lobby 8081 survival, so feel free to come and join us in there. You can come and troll us and grief us all you want, and I will definitely say things on the stream if you want to get a reaction out of me. It'll work, I promise. So with that, we've already started. We were playing this for like 30 minutes before the show started.
Yeah, I honestly needed a few minutes to figure it out.
Yeah, it was a revelation when Adam, were you clicking? Like click,
yeah.
click, and ask me like how long it takes to break the wood.
Yep.
Which is that's an honest thing to It's an honest thing to not get right out the gate, so I get that. That is room 8081, not room 881, to the host that just posted in the chat. If you join 881, I don't know who you'll play with, but they'll be lucky to have you. Topic for the show today, or the title for the show, is the journey, episode 23, the journey from Hello World to Hello Corner Office. The guide is going from a level engineer to a senior software engineer and beyond. Title is brought to you by ChatGPT 3.0, not 4.0, because I'm not one of those snobs. But I thought that was actually a pretty clever title. What do you guys think?
It's pretty
It's
good.
a really good title. It should be a book title, actually.
I agree. From Hello World to Hello Corner Office. At least like a long, like a blog series. Maybe not like a blog post, but like a series of blogs. I'm going to build a house up here on top of this mountain, by the way. But yeah, what I really want to dig into today, though, is like, yeah, what does it look like going? We've talked a lot about junior engineers and senior engineers and principal and all sorts of stuff on the show. We have not talked about kind of the awkward teenage phase of your career where you're a mid-level engineer. You're kind of like, you're not treated junior, not treated senior. You're somewhere in between. Let me pull up my notes. How would you guys define a mid-level engineer, though? Like, what sets them apart from like a junior or a senior? What are some of those attributes? I'd love to hear some thoughts from the audience on this as well, because I'm sure you all have great ideas too.
It depends on what you're like. I know like different companies, like you look at job descriptions, like you'll have like one company's like mid-level and another company's mid-level might not be the same, like one to one. So it's kind of a really hard to define like in a few sentences, but I'll give like my take on it based on like my experience. It's like I feel like a junior engineer is someone who is given a task, like someone like say from a more senior engineer, and they're like doing a description of what to do with it, and they roll with it, and they give the result, whether it's a simple bug fix or a simple feature add-on or whatever. But then the mid-level engineer takes it to the next level, and like say you give them a design, and it's pretty much up to them to go roll with it, and then like they get creative with like task definition or however they want to do it from there. So it's more about like a mid-level engineer can be given a task and they could just roll with it. This is again up to debate and different company, but it's like I could give a mid-level engineer as a team lead I'm talking about. I could give a mid-level engineer a feature task like a story ticket. We use Jira a lot, a story ticket, and then they could just roll with it, create subtasks, and delegate or divide their time as needed. Whereas a junior engineer might not be able to do all these things on their own. Rather, you give them sort of a game plan and check in on them once in a while. With a mid-level engineer, you might look at their code review for like coding best practices, where they might not have everything down to the T, but that's part of the code review process. But like, there's a lot less overhead for a mid-level engineer. Like, they could write the code, they could, take the designs and run with them, and then the rest, plays out in the code review and all that. Whereas again, junior level, not quite. They know how to use, like they know how to code, they know how to program and stuff, but there might be a little more if hand holding, if you will, to start with.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. That was the first thing that came to mind too for me, Adam, is like independence level. It's like how much they can run with things on their own and their proficiency in general, which is again super subjective based on where you're at and what your background is. Like, I don't know, are you more junior? Can someone be more mid-level or junior if they're working in a different stack than they've worked in before? Maybe. Like, it depends on what you're doing too.
That's an interesting question.
That's actually a great follow-up I wanted to talk about. I feel like you can be a mid-level engineer even if you're just starting out in like a framework or like a programming language. Like, I feel like a lot of engineers, or it's commonplace for someone to like be really good in a certain framework. Like, say they work with Java, like Spring or something. They work with Java heavy environments, and they want to switch over to
really Java Spring. Praise be.
Yeah. It's very painful. And but if someone's very seasoned in it, say a couple of years, and they switch over to React, the transition is very easy. And they like a lot of the programming, like best practices and like patterns they might do. They basically, they'll get them right at the start. They'll just have to learn some syntax, some like quirks of like, say if they're learning React, some of the quirks and like gotchas of using
You'd
it.
hope, right? You'd hope if
Yeah,
someone is learning proper fundamentals along the way, that's how it
yeah,
should work. I
yeah,
think yeah, I'm not saying I've experienced this personally. I think most people do, along the way of learning a different like syntax, framework, languages, whatever environment you're working in, you get the fundamentals over time. But I could see the case where like you might just dig too deep into the specifics of what you're doing and not learn what or why you're doing it. And then, you have a case where switching you're back to baseline because you don't really know what you're doing or does
but
that make sense?
but
I was gonna say that like if you're a mid-level engineer and you switch stacks, you're probably gonna go back to being like a junior level, not like starting like fresh out of like boot camp or
yeah,
school, but like you're gonna have a lot of like you'll be. I think being called a mid-level engineer when you have not like developed those chops to like understand the abstract nature of programming, just regardless of language, it's not gonna set you up for a win. I also think like one of the key things that you said, Adam, that like I want to zero in on a little more is like the ambiguity piece. You're talking a little bit about like you can give a senior just like a chunk of work and have them run with it. I think mid-level engineers, the big difference between like a junior and a mid-level is like mid-level engineers should be able to work with like a degree of ambiguity in a
yeah.
task. If they're having to ask questions like every couple minutes or something like that, that's an indicator like they might need a little bit more mentorship and a little bit more time to grow. And you might have put them up in like a scenario where they haven't been set up for a win, or
Yeah.
they need to recognize like I need to learn the right way to learn when not to ask questions. Junior engineers, you want like ask me everything, and then mid-level engineers, it's like figure out what not to ask me. Kind of an awkward balance I've experienced in my own career. I feel like. Can you guys see my house from where you're at?
I'm coming to burn it
Looking
down,
for
so
it.
I will find I will find you
That was
shortly.
mostly what I was afraid of. Like, I don't know if you guys have the render distance turned up high enough to see me. I hope that's the case.
Mine starts to lag if I turn it up, so you're lucky right now. But I'm searching for diamonds first.
I was
and then
able
I
to
can
see
kill
you guys pretty. Yes, Adam can teleport. How did you teleport?
He could do a teleport request. I
Oh,
found.
that's cool.
Wait, really?
Adam coming in with the hacks. Yes, I'll TP accept.
To destroy your house.
Yeah, sure, you can destroy my house. That's fine.
No, I'm just here. I'm just chilling.
We're building on top of the world here. What are some of the, I guess this is kind of like a natural segue. What are some of the key skills or attributes that a mid-level engineer should focus on developing in order to progress to a senior level engineer? So like aside from like being comfortable with ambiguity, oh, you're actually destroying it. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Yeah, about ambiguity, I feel like as a mid-level, like I remember being a mid-level engineer, and then leveling up to a senior level is more like I feel like so it goes back to that a little bit to the ambiguity thing, but it's more about like as a senior engineer, you take initiative in a lot of the things you don't know. So you start by saying, I don't know this thing. Let me look into it and try to learn about it, or like ask the right questions to, or figure out the right questions to ask to someone either more senior or like your project manager or whoever. So like it's about you being not just getting tasks and working on stuff, it's about defining them yourself as well and rolling with that and like presenting them to your whoever you're working with, whether it's another engineer, project manager, so on. So like you're helping define the like a feature or like a solution to a fix rather than having someone tell you a solution or suggesting a solution. It's about finding your own solution or like finding a few and like testing it out and understanding why things work. So like mid-level is like you know what to do to fix something, and then a senior level is more like why it works and like how to avoid the solution in the future and future-proof things. So that really changes your, at least this is how I see it. It changes the way you approach how you write code. So like instead of thinking of a solution, like I'm going to write this piece of code, I'm just going to copy paste it places. This is an example of reusability, like using components. I'm going to make a component that I noticed there's a pattern with, and I'm going to make it reusable. and have it be able so we can plug it in so other engineers can write it. So what that basically means is so you not only know why something works, like how to fix something and why the fix works, but also you're future proofing stuff in a way that's readable to your future self and future engineers without the need to ping you or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, you want to write code that's super clean, super understandable to not you, but you're also your future self and other engineers. That was like actually one of the driving like reasons of why I feel like I became a senior engineer like in my career was I wanted to write code that I wouldn't have to explain to someone else in a year or so, or like in a couple of months when I'm too busy with other stuff. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things that mid-level engineer should focus on is how can I write this code to make it readable to me, my future self, and other engineers without the need to ping me? That's like one simple thing I could think of to level up a mid-level engineer.
I think that's a really good thing. I think if you've looked at it's like a programmer meme, right? Or like if you look back at your own code and you're like, man, like I don't who wrote this, and it's like, oh, it was me. Like that's a really good thing, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
you've learned and grown. I think one thing that like tripped me up earlier in my career was thinking I could rush the transition. Like if I just put enough work in, I was working essentially 2 jobs for a while in my career. Like I had my own freelancing business, and then like that I do from like it was I had my 9 to 5 and then my 5 to 9 that I would do, and that helped me level up a lot, like pretty quickly. But like there's some things that just come with time of like being able to see your solution and how it plays out over like a year or 2 years, or how a service and decisions that you made play out and how that impacts like the code base and impacts other engineers or yourself. Like that is what I think will ultimately like that's one of those things that will define you as a senior engineer as opposed to a mid-level engineer. But that process can go a lot faster if you're actively seeking out things like good mentorship, having people give you feedback on your pull requests, working on code that other people are going to be interacting with, and being open and receptive to when they come back and say, hey, like this was shit to work with. Actually, this is what you could have done better. Experience, what are some of like the common challenges that like a mid-level engineer will face when trying to make the jump? Aside from like ambiguity, like what are some of the other hurdles that like I might run into?
It's a great question. This is, I don't know if it's about a hurdle, but like as a mid-level engineer, you might feel that you plateau a little bit in your skill set when you're at a job. So like, say you're working with React for a couple, I don't know, 2-3 years. You got everything down. You know how to write, functional React code with hooks and all that. Differences between class components, basic, like the interview questions, right? And you can ace them. But like, there's a point where you sort of plateau in the sense that you're just writing React code or like you have like you write code like clockwork in a certain way. You've got all the patterns down, but like so that's a hard thing to like get around. It's like a hard spell to break where you're writing very code in similar ways and similar patterns. So this is kind of something I actually didn't experience here at J1 at my last job. I kind of did, where like I said, I actually gave that example. That was me, where I was writing code a certain way for so long, just with different features, different bug fixes here and there. So I plateaued a little bit, and the things I started doing in order to get off that plateau and go even higher was to really expand. Again, I go back to that like why, like I mentioned the why, learning how to not only fix things but understand why they work in a certain way. So I started looking into that kind of stuff, learning the why of things and how can I make things better with the tools I have or with even less tools. So like it's not about just understanding a solution, it's understanding a more flexible or more efficient solution or other solutions, understanding why those work. And then it's sort of like then I sort of naturally branched off into other things. So I'm trying to think of a good example of this, but I think a good example for me was in my last job, I wrote a lot of Redux, like React Redux. So like, you have your actions and your reducers. It's very, very tedious pattern. We had to do it for tons of features, tons of things, because that's how the system was set up in the front end. We couldn't change it. a bunch, like, because there's too much work to do. But then a new project came along towards the end of my time at my last company with like using React context. So that was relatively new thing for that company at the time. So I got into that a little, and I got into a lot more Jupyter One. And before I came on the Jupyter One, I learned more about React context because it's another solution to like sort of shared state, if you will. So like you have a bunch of shared state, so you don't have to prop drill. So the first problem was, how do I get rid of prop drilling? Oh, that's Redux. I can share my state across the app without having to pass properties and cause all this re-rendering on multiple properties, on multiple components, and cause all this inefficient madness with rendering. So Redux was the first solution, but then it got super tedious. It's not always the best solution. It's going to be really messy, lots of boilerplate codes, lots of stuff to write. Not the best thing. Also, it's an extra library you got to add, so it's adds to the bulk of your node modules. So then, like I'm mentioning all these terms, and then I started looking to these things like as a mid-level engineer. So I started learning like, okay, what are my node modules? How can I make these better? What's working with the node modules? Oh, it's a bundler. Oh, it's Webpack. Oh, then I look into ES Build and Webpack. What are the different things out there? So, and then luckily, if you have if you're fortunate enough at your job to be able to test these things like we do at G1, you have the time to learn and like perfect these things. You can level yourself up. You can, like I mentioned, I knew about all these new tools and terms and ways to make my app faster, more lightweight, and all that stuff. And that's, I feel like, what took me from a mid-level to a senior level in whatever. It doesn't happen overnight, but in X amount of time, I honestly don't know. But yeah, so it's like I honestly don't know how to summarize this answer, but there's a lot to it. Just like branching
like,
up
beyond just like implementation,
yeah,
like of the code, but understanding like the peripherals around the code and like what goes into like making your code actually run and work. Understanding like the endpoints it's deployed to. One common thing that I say, like, hey, you're diving with me, so I'm like riffing off of it. I frequently say like senior people who want to be like exclusively on the front end and like want to be a senior engineer need to absolutely unequivocally know how to make bundlers work, whether it's Webpack, Vite, rollup, like just understand like all that UDM, ESM, CJS. Like you don't have to be a master on it, but like you need to understand like what your code is running on in order to like really excel at that senior level. Maybe that's like something you learn once you become a senior, but like if I'm interviewing somebody for a senior engineering position and like they don't know how to do anything without Create React app, like that's not a red flag, but that's like something that's like it's a gap in knowledge that like I need to be aware of.
Yeah, and I also feel like that React app is a good like metric. I feel it's good to know like how it works, what its limitations are. So that was part of my journey as well, like learning that there are limitations to this thing, and it's not like a silver bullet. You just run that command, and it like makes your React app work in the best way possible.
Every company build their product using Create React.
So it's a good way. That's a thing like I think of like if you know how it works, you can know how to make it better or like use something else like it's more efficient. And understanding how it works maybe would also help a mid-level engineer up. Like again, it comes back to learning why things work or why things solve certain problems and how they solve them. And then it allows you to branch out.
Yeah. I agree with that. There was something that I was talking to Henry, episode 1 of 100x Engineering, season 1. This was probably a year ago now. About we were debugging an issue and there's this tendency where like we wanted to like step in and like just like try stuff, and we had to like pause for a second and be like, okay, like we're just like trying stuff. Like why don't we like actually take a step back and look at like how this tool works? So we tore it open, looked at the GitHub, looked at like the source, and like followed what was actually happening. Then we were able to very intentionally go in and implement a solution once we understood it. And so we coined the term whack-a-mole programming, where it's like, I don't know what we're trying here, but maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. Maybe ChatGPT will tell me to do this. Nope. Okay, let's change the prompt. Let's try that. And I think a thing that senior engineers are able to do and will hopefully recognize when it's appropriate to do is how do I learn the context? There's no magic here. Like, this is a knowable thing. Where do I go? If it's this is a hot take. Maybe I don't say this, so don't take this to the bank. But like maybe like a mark of like it's a mid-level versus a senior level engineers. I feel like I get a lot more complaints from like junior and mid-level engineers about a lack of documentation at a company than I do from senior and principal level people. Not to say companies shouldn't have documentation. That's a bad thing, because I do think if you have good documentation, it lowers the barrier of entry for your code. But I think once you do get to like those upper levels, you become more comfortable with that ambiguity, and you recognize like code is a form of documentation, varying in quality many times. But like, if I don't know what the endpoint looks like, I can crack open. There's a server somewhere in my company, or there's like a code base somewhere that I can go and crack open and look at to find out what payload it's expecting. I don't need that necessarily in Confluence or something. That might be a hot take. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I didn't want to say it, but so yeah, I feel like senior engineers can feel completely comfortable with actually like Carter said, if there's a lack of documentation, they'll just go in and try to figure it out and not just like simply say, hey, there's no documentation, I don't know what to do. Rather just like explore, look through some GitHub repos. It even comes down to just doing like a find, like on the Mac, command find, like command F, looking through a code repo for a certain variable name even, or like looking through an organization and like just understanding like I could take this into my own hands and find it myself and like try to figure it out from there. And if there's no documentation, flag it and like move on, or like write some documentation yourself even if you want. But yeah, it's like that, taking that, knowing that you can and would have the power to take that initiative to find something yourself and like make it work.
I'm trying to be cautious about not turning this into like making it sound like we're shitting on mid-level engineers and stroking.
No,
it's everyone goes through this. I mean, we've all been there and done that, or we all will do that. So
I remember getting so angry that like a company didn't have docs, and I realized now like, oh, like no, it's just like how it goes sometimes. Like, how the heck am I supposed to know what to do? I only have access to GitHub and code base. Drew, how did you make glass?
Carter, I'm just better than you,
Your house is looking fantastic, bro.
Senior Minecraft engineer over here, leveling up.
No kidding, jeez.
You smelt sand.
And Drew's so cool. Surely he won't be good at video games. And misfire of the century. Jeez.
I'm cool. Carter said I'm cool. No, I think so. I was curious. I wanted to bring this up, but y'all are having really good discussion. So, like, back to the point about like, how does a mid-level engineer level up these skills? You mentioned, we have the opportunity here to explore a bunch at our company. Not everyone does. What's the answer to that? Like, how do you grow those skills if you're stuck in the same code base and the same patterns at work? What do you guys think? I have my answer to this, but I'm curious what y'all think.
Can I go first?
Absolutely.
So this is like in the context of a company. It's like, say you work here, you work at J1, anywhere else. To level up these skills, I think it's up to the engineer to take on tasks that will help level up these things we mentioned. So like, you try to kill two birds with one stone, right? You try to get this feature, bug fix, or task done, but you also do some great learning in the process. So it's a win-win. You're super motivated. You're motivated twofold, tenfold, or should I say 100x fold. So to do a shameless plug there for the podcast. But yeah, I would say like it's up to the mid-level engineer to either sync up with any like a more senior level engineer during their sprint planning or anything like that, given this context of working at a standard company, a startup. Really taking initiative to take on tasks that will allow you to level up these skills we mentioned, or like learn new things. So you just got to take on these tasks head on and like really try to do them.
What if I don't have control over the tasks I take on, or what if there's no tasks available that are like within my skill level that will give me those opportunities? Because I feel like that's a fairly common thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't pick the work I do, or like the work to stretch me like is non-valuable and not available.
Well,
non-valuable to the company.
That's a great question. Go ahead, Drew. I'm talking away.
I might be stealing what you're about to say, but I know this is kind of can come off as like a little bit taboo or like negative sometimes, but like you will benefit a lot from spinning up your own projects and working on things on the side and experimenting with new tools and trying new things out outside of the scope of work where you are restricted in many ways. I feel like those are the times that you really can gain a lot, but it's hard to say that because you're asking people to work outside of work. But it's I don't know.
I mean,
What do you
there's
think
two ways
about
to
that?
view it, right? Like you can view it as work, and you can also just view it as like investing in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us enjoy this, so and that sounds pretentious as well, but if you enjoy doing it outside of work, that's a plus and it's a win-win. And then, you grow at the same time. So I think that's a really good way if you're up for that sort of thing.
I think you can you can do it all at work. And if you don't want to put in any time like at home or anything, or outside of work, I'm not gonna. Hopefully, you all know, or you guys both know at least that I put a lot of value and emphasis on valuing people's work-life balance. I get mad at people for pushing code up after hours and on weekends. If people have to work late, I usually give them an appropriate amount of time off, in recognition of that. But investing in yourself outside of work is great ways to open up more opportunities for yourself, make yourself more marketable. If you're in a job that you feel like you're stuck in and you want to either get to the next level or get somewhere else and get a new job, but you lack the skills for it and your job's not giving you that, either find a job that will give you that, or if you like your job and you're just not being stretched, talk to your manager, but ultimately take it into your own hands. Don't let somebody else dictate what you do and do not get to work on, even if that means doing something on your own. It doesn't have to be miserable either. Find a project that's fun for you, work on it, make a game. That's been one thing I've been doing to kind of keep my programming skills up while I've been management. It's just working on games, and that's fun because it's I don't want to go and make a SaaS software for myself. That sounds miserable. But I made a cookie tracker app. So when I wanted to play around with Svelte and track all the crumble cookies and put them in there. And it's I used it twice, but it was a fun project to make. I had a dime for how many workout apps I've made in different frameworks and languages.
Yeah, scratching your own itch can be fun. Something that's, you don't really need it, but it could be useful. A little workout tracker, a little to-do list, a little something.
And don't be hung up on the fact that it has to be useful. Just use it as an opportunity or a sandbox to learn and grow. And we could have a whole other episode on what makes an effective side project, or how to handle side projects.
We could just go through and talk about our side projects. I feel like that'd be fun.
That'd be a real flex.
Yeah.
Tyler, send me a note. Remind me to add side projects to the topic list for season 2. Thank you, Tyler. Speaking of notes, my notes just went away. There we go. Drew, what was your original question? I'm trying to remember. So I feel like we covered it, but there might have been.
We did cover it. It was kind of what can you do to level up those skills as a mid-level engineer? And we came to you either push yourself in your work or you figure out some side projects that you can play around with. I think are pretty good answers.
We have Ryan Wills volunteering as tribute for side projects. Ryan, you have been accepted. We will talk soon.
Accepted.
Congratulations. Drew, I assume you made it for. I'll just figure it out for myself. I'm a senior Minecraft player. I can come up with my own solution. Is there coal in this game? What the heck? Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta go out and move my little house. Your house might be charming and quaint, but mine is bigger than yours. So
that's true. That is true.
It's marginally larger.
I'm about to have to make an expansion.
I gotta find a way to win at this, and it doesn't make it easy to have that delineation. All right, let's go find some coal. Come on, fellow streamers, let's go on a journey together. How important is mentorship in the path from senior to mid-level? In the path from senior to mid-level engineer. We've already touched on this a little bit. But what does that look like?
I think you need someone that's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here, I'll give my quick little thing. I think you need someone that's going to not just give you everything right up front and is going to try and put you in a position to figure things out yourself. I've had the opportunity. I mean, you can get good mentorship both ways, but the real good growth comes from someone who's going to pose the right questions to you at the right time so that you can figure things out on your own. It just sticks with you so much more versus someone who's like, oh yeah, here, let me show you how to do this. And then they just show it to you. And there's a difference there. I think we've talked about before on the show. Um, and I'd say that's really what you would want to look for. I don't know how you gauge that other than like someone who you go for help and you end up with a question or like something you have to figure out. That's probably a good sign. It could be a bad sign. It could be they hate you and just don't want to deal with you. But more than likely, it's a good sign. So yeah,
It's actually a good thing to call out though, because I feel like a lot of times I'm misconstrued, especially earlier in my career, is like they hate me and don't want to talk to me, or it's like actually they're busy, or they just have like very terse communication.
yeah, it's hard to tell with some people sometimes.
Shout out to that one.
I'm gonna take this question from like more of the angle of like a mid-level engineer doing the mentoring themselves. So like the way I've had this is a skill I think in college that is very useful for like when you're like my undergrad, you know, like when you have a study group and you're like trying to study and it's like very inefficient because you guys goof off, you know, you don't know what to study. But like we had some like programming. I developed this skill in college with like we had like a iOS development course with using Objective-C. So it was new to everyone. And I wanted to lead a study group. And what I wound up doing was trying to figure out a way I could explain a certain like way to program something in a way to like that I also teach myself. Like in other words, I want to make a study group where I not only help others, but I also memorize this whatever I'm doing myself. So the way I did that was like literally pair programming with someone and explaining what I'm doing and like us talking through it, like, oh, like even pointing out the random typos, like, oh, you're missing a semicolon. Oh, you're missing the closing curly bracket in the for loop or something like that. So like really going into like mentoring maybe an engineer at your same level or even or lower and talking through problems and not learning how to solve them and also explain them to that other person, even if they know the answer, you know, like, but learning how to explain the problem, like in a mentorship, like explaining the problem to someone and then explaining the solution, how it relates to the problem, and like walking them through your solution. That's a good way to like sort of level up through like sort of mentoring, I guess. That's how
it's
I see
actually really
mentoring.
smart. It's like you know you're proficient at something when you can explain it to someone else in a manner lets them understand it. Teaching is hard.
That I think that helps cover half of it, and I think like getting somebody more senior than you obviously like helps you know what you don't know already, right? Or what the questions you didn't even think to ask or study. But I like the concept of like taking it into your hands and like trying to like do that. I would lobby actually that as a junior and mid-level engineer, you are entitled to mentorship. Don't let that go to your head and like don't phrase it that way to your boss. Like I am entitled to mentorship. But like that is the thing that like if you've been hired as a junior or a mid-level engineer and you are not receiving mentorship, like you definitely need to talk to your boss about that and say, hey, like I'm not getting the learning and growth that like I was expecting or needing here. And if they don't give that to you, it might be a good chance to like see what else is available for you. But like there's like you don't have to just go to your boss though. Usually hopefully there's an engineer or two on your team or on an adjacent team that you can go and ask, like say, hey, I'm trying really hard to get better. And like, you've seen my code, like, can I have you be like a formal mentor to me? Like if they're not scheduling the pairing sessions with you or doing the code reviews, like make them happen yourself. That will make your path to a senior engineer way better and way faster. Don't leave your career in the hands of someone else because nobody's going to care about it as much as you do.
I really like that.
Being proactive about it. Yeah, taking that initiative to like reach out and like to anyone higher up. You're like, hey, let's do this thing. You have time, yes or no, and you move on to the next person. Yeah, I think that's a good way. Just I think it comes just back to as a mid-level, you got to take initiative for yourself, take it into your own hands, and like level up with side projects, mentorships with other, you know, senior devs or anyone else out there, and learning stuff, learning how things work. Yeah, that's
We are actually at time. I feel like this went
Oh
way
wow.
fast. Kind of a
Yeah.
combination of like the topic being super fun, I feel like, and the game also being grossly engaging, but also kind of mindless.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to be done. I need to get my freaking sand so I can go and put it up there. Adam, in closing, what advice do you have? Wait, this water is not real.
No, it just there's no physics to it.
That's really funny.
I thought there was.
I mean, there is, but like it doesn't do anything. It looks like if you take blocks away from it, it just stays there. Minecraft. I guess the product manager de-scoped that one for their delivery. I respect that. But I think Minecraft, I don't think of how awesome the water is, I guess. Even though it's pretty cool. Anyways, back to my own question. Adam, in conclusion, what advice would you give to mid-level engineers who are seeking to become a 100x engineer? Like, what are your closing remarks?
Okay.
We haven't already said it, or you can reiterate things that we have said.
I'm gonna just give one piece of advice. Like one thing you could do is start leveling yourself up. So I think instead of having like a big picture like New Year's resolution kind of thing, it's more about like what you can do today to go become that 100x engineer. Is review other people's code. That is what I'll say. I will say it to everyone, even to senior engineers, review other people's code, see how they write, discuss their solutions of things. Just see other people's code. You'll get out of that box you'll start thinking outside the box with certain solutions or certain coding styles, syntaxes, patterns. It all starts with the code. So review other people's code. It gets the job done at work. It also helps you learn new stuff, and it helps with team building, So that's my advice.
Thank you, Max, for correcting my typo. I think that is really good advice, Adam. I think, and I like that. That's something that, as I asked the question, I was like, "We've gone over all this," but you came out with something brand new at the end. So that was a banger. Reviewing other people's code, being in it and of it, and understanding and seeing it. I think that's great. Adam, you've been excellent to have on the show. Thank you for your contribution, your witty banter. Thank you for playing Minecraft Block Studio with us. We will talk with you again. Have an excellent afternoon, and let's all give a round of applause to Adam and say happy birthday as of yesterday to him. So
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Have a good one. Now be gone. I love being able to do that so much.
The power trip.
Why did you? Oh yes, Max, you can teleport to me. Why do I feel like I'm about to get wrecked now? Let's do it. Just
He's got a sword. End him. End him.
He's got a sword. All right, let's run. Drew, what's our next episode?
Our next episode is sometime in April. Give me a second. It's April 11th, 4/11, 4/11. And it's going to be a blast as always. A banger, if you will.
Is he still following me? Shit, yeah.
I think he's friendly. Max is friendly.
Beam me up, Drew.
I don't know how to accept. Oh, he's not friendly.
Yeah.
Killed you with a wooden sword.
It was an exhilarating 10 seconds that completely distracted me from the show. Well done, Maxwell. That was funny. I really wanted you to beam me up so I could teleport to you, but I couldn't type. I don't even know what your character name is in here.
Just Drew.
Just Drew. It said I typed it wrong, damn it. There isn't a player with the name Dre. Maybe you made a typo. There it is.
We didn't get to do a house review. I wanted to do a house review at the end. See who had the better Minecraft house.
All right. Let's do it. We got a couple minutes here.
How far are you from the spawn, though? Oh, wait, you can just teleport to me.
TP request Drew. There isn't a player with the name Drew. Is it capital?
Oh, wait, what is my name?
Case sensitive?
My name is, yeah.
It's case sensitive. That's annoying. Oh, shoot. Wow, you got to tell me. I just almost ran right off. All right, house review. All right, take me on the tour.
All right, we're going to my house first? Okay.
Yeah. Let's start with the worst one. Let's go to mine first.
Okay, cool.
I had a bunch of sand, but then Max took it.
Yeah, show us what's going on here.
We got some nice barn-style roofing here. We got some glassless windows so you can feel the nice nature breeze coming in. Very open-air design.
It does have lots of space. I like it.
Yeah, lots of space. We got ladders here for easy access to nothing. It's storage, extra storage up there. This is a 2023 spec home.
It's a loft. I think it's a loft up here, technically.
Yeah, with like rates as high as they are right now, like these kind of micro homes are really popular with like the younger generation. So we expect it to sell well. Add some foliage in here, add some greenery. Yeah, that's great. It's real good with the staging. I know he's here. All right.
He's here. All right.
Max, come look at the other house with us, and then you can kill us.
And then you can end us.
That was kind of a horror moment.
All right. First, you'll notice the beautiful symmetry we have going on the outside. The ladders for decor and functionality. The glass windows.
Decorative? Okay, yeah, they're decorative.
They are functional.
Very tasteful.
You will notice the mix of cobblestone and brick ceilings. The wide open windows that are actually complete and filled in.
The 360 view.
Yep, the full utility here. We've got all the workbenches, everything you need, your kitchen essentially. Oops.
Tell me about the bonus room.
Well, the bonus room is you can go down this trap door and fall straight to the bottom of the planet. So that's pretty cool.
How do I open the trap door?
No, that's not the trap door. The trap door is in the corner.
Oh, there it is.
That's not the trap door either.
Oh my gosh, that's the toilet.
And that's the wrong trap door. Anyway.
Oh, there it is.
That's it for this. That's my crib. Thank you, MTV, for featuring it.
Wow, what a way to end the stream, James. I'm just gonna call it there. Yeah, this has been 100X Engineering Cribs Edition. I think if it was a competition, I think your house would sell for more dollars than mine, even though it is less square footage, less cube footage. See what I did there?
Thank you.
All right. Do we have an outro slide now? I feel like we do, but I can't ever remember. A little faster. I don't know where our outro slide is. So if you want to get your friends on here, if you want to get your family, your enemies, train engineers, if we can do 100X engineering on like somebody who conducts a train, please send them our way. Send them to 100X engineering at jupiter1.com, and we will happily engage with them and see if they want to come play silly games with us. Any other announcements, Drew?
No, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right, well, let's roll the credits. Do the thing right now. Oh.